Small boats continued to make the treacherous journey from Turkey to the Greek island of Lesbos, as thousands flee conflict in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and other countries. Life jackets line the shores, a constant reminder of the pain and suffering of those who make this crossing. Sofia Atheneu is a lifeguard at Bethel's Beach. Sofia and her team went to Lesbos for a total of 19 days to help save migrants. Instead, she found herself in the camps helping with aid, working to clean up the coastline and patrolled the Aegean Sea. Being a Hellenic national, she felt it was time to return to her country to help.
There were about 5,000 refugees coming over a day. You know, how do you deal with such amount of emergencies? You know, because it is an emergency. So I'm really proud of the Greeks because they've actually opened their arms and opened the doors and said welcome.
Is that typical though of the Greek culture?
Yeah, I mean, in Greece we have a word called philoxenia, which is we welcome anyone who comes, you know, anyone who would knock on our door, we'll welcome them and bring them in and feed them. So the amount of help that they've had from these islanders is amazing. They've literally opened their doors and a lot of them brought them in for sleep or fed them or, you know.
What have your family members, specifically your mother, been doing prior to this trip to help?
The last few years my mother has been cooking. She spends one day of her weekend to cook for the Greeks who have problems, you know, because the economic crisis in Greece is quite heavy. So my mum goes, I think it's every Sunday. She's one of the chefs in a little area that they cook for I don't know how many people a day. And the last few months she's been doing that twice a week. Once she does it for the Greek people and another day she does it for the refugees. And I do have a lot of relatives that they do help. You know, I've got friends that do and give their time on the refugee camps, or they cook or they organize clothes. You know, Greeks are refugees themselves. Syrians at some stage took in a lot of refugees. Now we do the opposite. Because you just cannot close the door on a starving family. Even a young man, because a lot of people talk about women and children. I saw a lot of young men fully destroyed, you know. You need to have your spirit uplifted and a good hug and some love and a smile, and the world will be a better place.
So there is a great deal of debris washing up on the shores, thousands of life jackets. Could you explain how you felt when you first witnessed this?
Each life jacket is a soul, is a human being. For them to actually do this trip, it was they are the heroes who actually came and did all that. They left war for somebody to live with their kids, with their family, or with nothing. Pretty much they walked in, most of them had maximum one little plastic bag that they were carrying. So, and each other. Each life jacket represents a life doing this trip.
Can you please explain what you discovered about these life jackets?
Unfortunately, these life jackets were not like real life jackets we would go and buy in a shop here. They're basically cheaply made. I've got some samples here of life jackets that I can show you. Most of them said Yamaha on them. But they were from Yamaha, Yamaba, Yamana, Yahama, Yamabishi. It was some engines said Yamabishi on it instead of Yamaha, or instead of Mitsubishi. It was a mix. So all this gear comes from China or cheap labor, and they were sold as real life jackets. They were actually filled up with some sort of foamy plastic material that if you kept it for too long underwater, it would fill up with water and become really heavy and pull anyone who was wearing it under. So they were all fake, that they got bought quite expensive actually.
So what are the major consequences that this fake gear would have on these people's journeys?
Basically, if they needed them as a life jacket, they would be a life jacket for maximum 5-10 minutes, and after that they would drag them to the bottom of the ocean. So it was the opposite of a life jacket. It's like wearing too many wet clothes on top of you.
What was it like meeting people at the camp?
Not all of them could speak English. Some of them could just say hello or kalimera in Greek. But I saw a lot of differences between us. The differences are big, but I smiled and hugged with both these ladies, you know, not just these others too. So we're all humans. It doesn't matter what our values are and our way of upbringing, as long as we have an open heart full of love and acceptance for these people, because they are people like me and you know. At some stage, one of the days that we were in one of the camps, a plane passed above our heads, and most of the people freaked out, went in a panic attack mode and started hiding like panicked chickens, and everyone else started looking around. And then we realized that they thought, you know, they still have fears. So they still carry all these burden. They've done the trip, they've crossed the ocean. Remember, most of them have never seen the sea before. So all they need is love and, you know, a hope that they can move on. And the main problem with these islands that I see at this stage is in a way, it sort of destroyed their tourism, because a lot of tourists haven't actually booked this year.
Would you encourage people to go there for a
I
holiday?
would certainly encourage people to go there for holiday. I mean, these people need a little bit of support too, and there's everybody's doing the best they can to clean from the beaches to the rocks. I mean, we've cleaned a number of areas, mainly underwater, because we could help easier with the divers in our boats, but a lot of locals and volunteers and the council are doing their best to clean up the rest of the island.
What are your plans for your next trip?
Basically, the next trip needs to be family orientated, because we live so far away, and even on this trip I really didn't see any relatives or family. Because I was so busy trying to organize all these things. So it will be family orientated, but we'll also be available for at least a couple of weeks in going and helping where we need it. That may be back in the island or in a different island. That may be in refugee camps up and down Greece, or it could even be closer to Italy.